Hey everyone, this is Jasmine and welcome to my channel. Today we will understand a very important topic, that is unit testing. When we develop a project, many things come in our mind regarding unit testing. What is unit testing? Why do we need testing? Do I need to test all the functions in my project? How do I write test cases? So let's answer these questions. So, what is unit testing? The unit testing is the first level of testing in our project. This tests the functionality of an application. The testing is conducted to ensure that the application behaves as expected. In .NET, the first task is to create a test project in Visual Studio. The test project will contain the necessary code to test the application. Why do we need testing? We can always do manual testing, so why do we need a unit testing? Unit testing is an essential aspect of any programming language. The main goal of unit testing is to ensure that each unit of the software performs as intended and meets the requirement. Many a times we make a function, we write a function, and after few days the requirement changes, we modify it. Based on that, we need to test it again. But if our test case is ready, we can just run the test case and get the output. So the main important reason for the unit testing is that to understand where is the bug. Another important question is, how do I need to test? Do I need to test all the functions in my project? No, we need to test only those functions that changes often. So sometimes there are some drop downs that is filled with the data. The data comes from the database. So that functions are not going to change. So we don't have to waste time in testing those functions. We can always write code for those functions that changes a lot. And another important question is how to write test cases. This we will do in our another video. There are three main types of unit testing: MS test, NUnit and xUnit. Let's understand these in detail. So the first is MS test. MS test is included with Visual Studio. The initial version of it was not an open source. However, the MS Test version 2 is open source. Now there are few limitations in MS Test, so that's why many people prefer NUnit test. The NUnit test is a popular open source framework ported from xUnit framework. Developers can write test cases using attributes such as test fixer, test setup, teardown, and more, providing a structured approach to execute the test. It also supports parameterized tests and parallel test execution. Parameterized test allows us to use the same test function with different input values. This increases the test coverage. Parallel test execution allows the test to run concurrently. This feature improves the overall execution time and we get the feedback with less time. The third one is xUnit test. xUnit test is also open source and cross-platform unit testing framework. It supports parallel test execution by default that enables faster test execution and quicker feedback. xUnit was created by the creators of NUnit. They wanted to build a better framework rather than adding incremental features to the NUnit framework. xUnit is much more extensible when compared to NUnit and MS Test.